these are the bottles that we're going to apply vacuum vortex protocol on. Before we start, I just want to show how all this is connected to the gas tank. So let's walk over to the gas tank. So this is the hydrogen CO2, 80% hydrogen, 20% CO2 gas mixture, the tank. So first thing you want to do is to open this gas tank valve, which is already open, and this connects to this gas regulator. So what the right side is reading is the pressure inside this large gas tank, and this valve you can increase or decrease and in clockwise and counterclockwise to regulate the pressure that comes out of the gas through this outlet line. So I've set this to a little bit below 20 psi over here, and this valve again is the vertical position, means that this valve is open. This line is connected, goes all the way around here. I'm going to walk around. That line is connected to this thinner tubing over here, which is connected to this valve, which is pointing to the left, meaning that this valve is open to the gas tank connection. This connects through this tubing up in the bottom, all the way to this copper column, which I have already prepared to be heated to 340 degrees Celsius. So that's going to scrub any trace amount of oxygen that is coming either from the tank itself or through all of the metal tubings that are leading up to this point. So after it passes the column, that valve is also open because I already opened it. That connects all the way to the gas manifold we have over here. So that line from the column is coming all the way to here, and that line is connected to this metal tubing, and all of the valves over here are closed currently. For this one, if it's in a vertical position like this, that means that valve is closed, and you can open the valve to either side by turning it. There's a little arrow, if you can see it. If the arrow is pointing to the left, that means that it's open to the line that's connected to the left. Same for the right side. So that means that this line is going to have the same pressure as the outlet pressure after the gas regulator that we saw on the other side, if we open this valve. If we open this valve, now this line up to this point, because this valve is closed, is equilibrated with the pressure that's coming out of the gas regulator that was attached to the big tank. And now this valve is connected to this line of parallel metal tubing over here, which ultimately connects to these switches over here, one of which we're going to use to vacuum vortex. But before we get there, notice that this line has a pressure gauge over here. This is not super accurate, but this reads in black reading on the outer side, PSI-G. That means that it's a gauge pressure. That means that that's in addition to 1 bar of atmospheric pressure. So 1 bar is about 14 psi. So if your gas gauge reading is 14 psi on this gauge, that is about 1 bar above atmospheric pressure, and your total pressure in the bottle is about 2 bars. So keep that in mind as you fill the bottle with pressure. And I'm going to use just one of these gas lines. So if we open this valve towards the opening over here, that just increased the pressure over here. So I've set up the gas regulator attached to the large tank so that the pressure reading is between 17 and 18 psig. The headspace of this will be a little bit above 2 bars of 80% hydrogen and 20% CO2 gas mixture. So now I'm going to open this line, this valve over here. So that means that all the way up to the leer lock over here is the same pressure as the pressure rating over here. And notice what happens when I open this leer lock. So I'm going to open this, and you're going to see a drop in pressure over there. That's because this is actually now releasing the pressure to room air. Overall, the procedure is a repetition of vacuuming and vortexing the bottle to remove any oxygen and air that's dissolved in the medium and that is in the headspace right now. So we're going to attach one of the gas lines using a needle to the bottle by poking the needle through the rubber septum. And then you're going to open this leer lock, which is the closest connection to the bottle. Open this valve, and then right now this valve is in closed position. If you turn this towards the left, it connects to the vacuum. So you're going to evacuate the headspace of this bottle, and the amount of time depends on the volume of the medium bottle as well as the amount of liquid you have. Wolf 2011 is the literature that I got the original protocol from, so I would refer to that literature to calculate the appropriate amount of time for vacuuming as well as vortexing for the specific amount of liquid as well as the glassware volume you're using. Alright, so I've put some liquid nitrogen into the water trap, and I'm going to turn the vacuum on. I'm going to open this line to the vacuum, and you see that this pressure gauge went all the way down to 0 because now this line is connected to the vacuum. Then the next step is you're going to connect this to the bottle. So right now, because of the leer lock and another valve over there, the headspace is still not connected to the vacuum yet. And I'm going to be using this timer to keep track of how long I'm vacuuming the headspace for. So for this 100 milliliter of medium in a 250 ml bottle, I'm going to be vacuuming for 80 seconds. So to do that, this is already open, so I'm going to open this valve and open this valve, leer lock, and then start the timer. So at 1 minute and 20 seconds, which is 80 seconds, I close the leer lock. So what that does is this bottle is no longer connected to the vacuum anymore. Just to be safe, I'm going to close this as well. You can also close this three-way valve back to the vertical position. And I'm going to reset the timer. So at this point, you have done the first cycle of vacuuming. And the other part of the protocol, as you recall, is vortexing. So I'm going to use this vortex mixer over here, and sometimes it's easy to use an attachment like this to hold the large bottle like that one. And I'm going to vortex the bottle for 60 seconds, I believe. Yes, for a 100 milliliter medium, I'm going to be vortexing for 60 seconds. And what that does is it is going to exhaust any of the residual air, including oxygen, in the medium back into the headspace. Now that we have a strong negative pressure in here, we want to make sure that all of the dissolved gas can come out to the headspace. And it's important to remember to close this valve especially, because you don't want to have any of the liquid while vortexing going back to this line. Alright, so that was 1 minute. So now we're going to turn this 3A valve back to the right position and open these valves all the way to the bottle so that the oxygen-free gas, which what we're using is 80% hydrogen and 20% CO2, we're going to let that oxygen-free gas into the headspace. And you're going to see from the surface of the liquid part, you're going to see gas coming, gushing into the headspace because there's negative pressure right now. And that is actually it. That is it for one cycle of vacuum vortex protocol. And then you're going to repeat that 3 times. So total 3 times. Usually that removes enough amount of oxygen. So with the reducing agent that you will be adding right before inoculation, that should provide enough anoxic environment in the bottle for anaerobes to grow.